Thank you, Greg. So Themis's mission is to support the OHDSI community to generate the evidence that promotes better health decisions and better care, which is pretty much everybody's mission, more or less. That's a work group in OHDSI. The Greek deity Themis is the personification of justice, goddess of wisdom and counsel, and the interpreter of God's will. So Themis provides conventions on how source data should be standardized to the OMOP CDM. When there is ambiguity on how these data should be inserted into the CDM, we give you the rules and conventions on how to do that. We follow the FAIR principles, which is findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And this will come in later when we talk about our collaborathon. And Themis makes decisions for the good of the whole community, regardless if it's claims data in Antarctica or EHR data in Zimbabwe. So that's what we're all about. Next slide. All right, so in 2023, we had some really good accomplishments. We reestablished the Themis Working Group, which had been on hiatus for a few years, or like semi-retirement. Every once in a while it would pop up and go back into hibernation. And now we're a full formal working group that meets on a regular basis. We publish guidelines for the creation, nomination, and adjudication process for the Themis convention approvals. And you can find that as an issue in Themis on our website, our GitHub. And you can also see the formal process documented there on the front page. And we also completed some Themis work. Next slide. So we have two main objectives this year. The first one is to establish a formal project management process, and the second one is to establish a repository for Themis conventions. And in continuing our goals, this is a continuation, our 2024 objectives are a continuation of providing clear communication structure and processes. So the first one, the key results, we're going to adopt a project management tool. Currently, we're in the gathering requirements phase. We're going to implement this project management tool, then we're going to take one Themis issue from inception through the whole entire ratification cycle, utilizing it to ensure that one, it works, and two, we can fine tune it if need be. And our next objective is the establishment of a repository for Themis conventions. And most of this work to achieve this objective will be done during the CDM and Themis collaborathon in April. So we're calling it April Olympians, the month of CDM and Themis conventions. And more information about the April Olympians will be forthcoming here on a community call. But the key results for this objective will be to identify all the current conventions that are living out there in the wild, whether they're on the Themis GitHub repo or if they're living other places too. We're going to create a formal template for ratified conventions. So we're going to standardize the structure of the data and the metadata for every convention. And then we're going to create a repository for these conventions where they will live. We're going to link them from the Themis convention to CDM documentation and also to data quality dashboard checks. So that way, if you're running your DQD and you find an error and they tell you, drug and date must be mandatory and you have nulls in there, it'll link you out to the documentation of exactly where that cannot be null convention lives, and then also what a heuristic or different ways to populate that field when your source data lacks in date. So we're trying to de-silo is not a word. We're trying to move from some silos that we currently have within the OHDSI community around data standards and structures to a more overall cohesive process. We also want to bring one of those ratified conventions through to publication in the repository. So please join us. Our collaborathon is going to be a lot of fun. And also join our working group. We're located as a subgroup of the CDM work group and MS Teams. We meet the first and third Thursdays at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time in MS Teams. And of course, everybody is welcome. So come join the journey with us. All right, healthcare systems. Pretty basic mission statement here. We've been supporting healthcare systems on their Odyssey journey for quite a few years now. I think we're in our 6th year of being a working group. Next slide. We have 3 main objectives. 1, we want to establish a repository for community contributed semantic mappings. So these are things that come across in your source data as free text string terms, things like lab results, positive, negative, clear, things like that. So we are working on that. We've started the requirements for such a repository. Our next, oops, yeah. Go one more, okay? Yeah. Go one more. Let's go to 2. Okay, I got ahead of myself. All right, this is very exciting. I love my working groups. Objective number 2 is to provide support for transforming source EHR data to the CDM. So we do this with key results. We hold these office hour style agendas within our working group at least 10 times a year. So that way, anybody that has any questions about like, where do we start off when we're brand new to the Odyssey community, or how do we OMOP our source data, or what do we do in this situation, or does anybody know of a tool for this, or what about that? We're here for all the questions. So we hold these open style agendas. We also monitor and will continue to monitor any questions on the forums that pop up. Objective 3. We want to establish a methodology to transition from the use of the source to concept map to the concept and concept relationship tables. So there's 2 ways you can semantically map your data, and 2 ways to ETL that too. So we're going to create a wiki on the why and how to move from the source concept map to the concept and concept relationship tables. And then we're also going to create scripts. So those of you that do have your data in the source to concept map, but want to move to the concept and concept relationship tables, we're going to create a script so that way you can run it and make life easy. Next slide. We meet every other Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern time in MS Teams. No, that's a lie. We meet every other Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern time in MS Teams, and everybody is welcome. You don't have to have just EHR data. We support those with registry data and other types of data too. So please join us. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Melanie. Quick housekeeping. So Martijn is up next. I gave a list to everybody. Hua was going to be after that. I just got Hua's email with this slide. So Hua, I'm going to move you to the end. So after Psychiatry. So it's going to go Martijn and then Asya. So Martijn.
Hi, everyone. So I'd like to briefly talk to you about the Generative AI and Foundational Models Workgroup mission and its mission. So this is a brand new work group. We just had our kickoff meeting a couple of weeks ago. So anything I say right now is still very preliminary and may change. But roughly speaking, our mission is to advance healthcare research and improve patient outcomes through the innovative application of generative AI and foundational models. So most of that is large language models, but also models trained on, let's say, CDM data. We've formulated so far 2 objectives with some key results. Just like with the methods work group, I didn't want to actually have objectives that are about the content of the research, but more about like promoting collaboration between researchers. So the first objective is to promote awareness and collaboration in generative AI and foundational model research. We do this by maintaining a comprehensive directory of ongoing methods research. We want to have at least 6 presentations of ongoing methods research, meaning it can be work that has already been published, and have an average attendance of at least 20 people. Next to that, we want to also help establish best practices and standards in this field. We've already, somebody at Stanford already started this work by proposing something called the METS standard for standardizing CDM data specifically for inputting into a large model. And we want to help Stanford in this effort to better formulate this standard, and by helping adopt it across the Odyssey community, and by drafting best practices documents. So yeah, please join this brand new working group. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Martijn. We're going to move to oncology.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm gonna keep it short. So the workgroup mission is very straightforward. We're here to enable observational cancer research. We're in the month of phenotype February, and last week we just witnessed one instant that we need more data, more detail, and conventions of how to create the phenotype, proper phenotype for oncology, which is the core and the basis of everything that we want to do. So the workgroup is structured in a way that enables that, with the foundation being like outreach and research. We have 3 different subgroups where we focus on doing research and working with data partners and collaborators to learn more and enable observational cancer research. We have 2 other subgroups, vocabulary and development. We specifically focus on anything related to oncology vocabularies, and also ETL and development of tools or conventions around that. And the genomic subgroup, which is recently renamed as the omics subgroup, because we wanted to cover more than just genomic information. So to avoid the confusion, it is called omics subgroup. Next slide, please. So this year's OKR is all around supporting community and enabling community and adoption of the oncology convention. That's our main goal in the outreach and research. That means that we see an increased number of data partners, all of you with oncology data, to start adopting this convention and becoming a data partner in some of the oncology research. We have 3 ongoing oncology studies covering 3 different aspects, looking at cancer disparity, burden of cancer, and also treatment utilization. The vocabulary and development subgroup is heavily focused on enabling and facilitating community contribution. A lot of the work has been done, has been presented earlier this year on making it easier for new collaborators and new contributors to join, and we're working a lot to make it even easier, and we're expecting to see and inviting everyone to join and help us do more. That means developing onboarding materials and tutorials, and also having like a lot of feedback loops to make it easier. And finally, the omics subgroup, we have worked tirelessly on having an update and revamp of the genomic vocabulary. That's going to be in the February release. So that's the time to increase the awareness of the genomics vocabulary, making sure that people know about it and start using it, with publishing the genomic vocabulary paper, and helping and supporting data partners in adoption of the vocabulary and use it in this study. So join us. I hope to see you all there. Thank you so much, Greg. Kirk.
Thank you, Asya. Next up, Oliver He with the Vaccine Vocabulary Work Group.
Hi, I'm Oliver He from University of Michigan. So our project started last year, which is focus is here. The bottleneck we are addressing is there are more than 10 different vaccine terminologies, vocabularies in almost certain, but they are often not integrated, and the hierarchy is not built up there. So last year we had 3 OKRs, and I think we addressed them very well. So we first had a consensus of using the vaccine ontology, for which I'm leading to develop for the purpose to map and incorporate different vaccine terminologies and provide some additional features like hierarchy semantics. And secondly, we have been working with Dr. Li Chung Tree's group in UT Health, Texas, to develop an effective pipeline by using automatic term mapping systems developed by them, and with our own manual review, verification, and annotations. And we tested one use case. We look at all the CVX vaccine terms. There are over 250 terms. So we mapped them all, and we tested our automatic mapping systems, and we found a very good performance. So, and we presented the work in last year's symposium. We have also been working with other collaborators like Alexander from the OHDSI and Qiyang from IQVIA. Next. So we have 3 new OKRs for this year. So the first one is to focus on 2 more OMOP vaccine standards, including IRS norm and IRS norm extension. They are much bigger than CVX. They are each of them, having thousands of terms. But we have our automatic certain. We have our team built up to map all the terms in the 2 certains into the vaccine ontology, and we like many of them are there, and for those that are not there, we build up some new terms in VO and add the semantics there. So we are scheduled to finish it by the 2nd quarter or 3rd quarter of this year. Next. And then our second approach is to submit our our VO kind of focused story, the standard to OMOP Zina certain. We have talked to Alexander, and we have some ideas, and we have the pipeline to do. And our purpose is not to build a VO as a standard vaccine vocabulary for now, because we don't think we are ready. So we want to submit as a non-standard vaccine vocabulary, but we are going to add a lot of new features like semantics and integration of all different certains, so we can add some new tool to support Zina use cases. Next. And then to demonstrate how our certain can be useful, we have developed some ideas to support our demonstration. So we have 2 use cases. One is the IQVIA. We are going to work with Qiyang on the IQVIA certain, and my lab has developed some N3C data study like protocol, and we are going to test it using the N3C data. So we hope we can finish these use cases and present in this year's OHDSI symposium. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Oliver. Next up is Generative with the patient level prediction work group.
Thanks, Greg. So as you can see, we often abbreviate patient level prediction to PLP. So you'll see PLP jotted down rather than patient level prediction. But this group is for anyone who has an interest in developing prediction models and implementing prediction models with the observational healthcare data that we have. We meet monthly. We meet on the 2nd Wednesday of each month at 9 a.m. Eastern time. If you're interested in getting involved, we have a Teams group, and we also have the work group call. If you want to join, if you go to odyssey.org, you go to the work groups tab, and then in that drop down, you'll see this join our work groups. That'll kind of get you a form. And then in that form, you just want to fill out the details and make sure you tick PLP, patient level prediction, and that will give you access to the teams and the work group calls. So we've got 4 OKRs in this year. The first one is actually something that's already in progress. So we've, as a group, already got a deep learning package, a study out there, and what we're aiming to do is get this implemented by 5 different data partners. So if you have a GPU and you have data in the OMOP format, then you can participate in this study. And this is going to be a very large deep learning study where we're going to have lots of different data partners involved in this. The aim is to submit a journal to a high impact journal, or an article to a high impact journal, and also have a poster talk. So there should be some nice publications coming out of this. The protocol and the code are here in the link. Second objective is to improve our software accessibility. We have a package on GitHub, but we want to get this into CRAN. We also want to give lots of documents so that people can make it easier for people to use our package. So we want a cheat sheet that has the main code that if you're running this package. We also want documentation so that if someone's an R programmer, they can easily run a model using OMOP data. So we're going to improve that documentation. And if you're someone who's new to Odyssey and you know some R, but you haven't used PLP, we really want you to join and get involved this year. And actually, we want you to try and lead a network study with our support. So our aim is to get new people running the study. And also, if someone has a model that's developed outside of PLP, we want to show documentation of how you can add that into the PLP format. So this is just making things more accessible. The third objective is to actually implement a model. Very few prediction models get implemented. They get published a lot, but they don't get implemented. We have a mechanism now through the work group of actually getting a model implemented. So we want to pick one model, implement it, and actually have a presentation on lessons learned and challenges. So this is going to be quite exciting this year. And then the final objective is to better publicize Delphi. Many of you are probably wondering, what is Delphi? And the aim of this objective is to make you actually have an answer for that. It's basically a model repository that we have been developing where you can add your models, explore models, download models. So we want to have a paper on this to get this advertised. We want to get this advertised more in the meetings like today. And we also want to get lots of researchers submitting to this and starting to use this. So I hope to see some of you in the work group calls and in Teams, and hopefully see lots of new faces.
Great. Thank you so much, Jenna. She mentioned how people can join work groups. So that is the way to join any of these work groups. That form will have every work group on it. It's a really quick, simple form. Will get you right to the correct team's environments. Next up is Atlas and Anthony Senna.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. So the Atlas web application has a work group that supports it. And so for folks that want to get involved with the development of the Atlas application, you can join us at the Atlas working group. I think later in this slide deck, I mentioned that we meet every Tuesday at 9 a.m. We do meet monthly. The first Tuesday of the month, we meet to provide a high-level overview of what's going on with Atlas. And then we have weekly meetings on the following Tuesdays to go into deeper dives on specific technical issues. Could you go to the next slide? For this year, we've defined 2 objectives and key results for our working group. The first being that we want to develop Atlas with standardized analytics that codify scientific best practices into consistent, reproducible, and efficient processes. And to get there, we've identified a few key results. The first being that we want to define and publish a set of strategic objectives for Atlas that clearly define the direction of the platform moving forward. And going hand in hand with that is to define and publish a roadmap for Atlas to align future work to the strategic objectives from the first key result. And so the aim there is to provide a clear roadmap for the community on what we're aiming to do with Atlas and how we're going to move the platform forward. And along those lines, one of the things that we know we want to do moving forward with Atlas is to incorporate strategists for network study designs. And so one of our key results here is to design and execute a strategist study in Atlas via Arachne or some other container solution capable of running strategists. Our second key objective is to resolve current technical issues in Atlas. And so this is a bit of housekeeping. And here we've listed a few key results that aim to fix known issues with the platform, including some idle and transaction sessions in the web API database. The second, to improve the performance of some of the user interface permissions checks that happen that can slow down the web browser. And third, ensuring that the cohort generation and caching functions correctly function when things are happening concurrently. So when the Atlas application is under intense load, sometimes these operations can get a little muddled, and so we want to fix that, of course. So that's our 2024 OKRs, and I think the last slide may just talk a little bit about the schedule again. If you could go to the next slide.
Is it not up?
I'm still seeing the OKRs here. There it goes. Yep, and so there's, we meet every Tuesday. I apologize, Craig, because I gave you an 8:30 time instead of a 9 a.m., but it's every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern. We meet as a working group, and so please do join us if you're interested in contributing to the platform or helping us define those strategic objectives I mentioned. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Anthony. Next up is our open source community, and this will be presented, I believe, by Adam.
Yes, thanks, Greg. Hi, everybody. I'm Adam, and I co-lead the open source community with Paul Naji. We've been leading this work group for a couple of years, and our goal, we have 4 objectives: to provide educational materials and an educational onboarding program for new developers in the Odyssey community, host developer-focused community events, promote standard interfaces and processes in Odyssey software, and measure the health of the Odyssey software community. We meet on the 1st and 3rd Fridays of each month at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And the first Friday is the Technology Advisory Board. So this is a group that Paul leads, focused on governance issues and around OHDSI software, and he'll say a couple of more things about that. And on the third Thursday is where we have the training sessions and open discussions just about OHDSI software. So our key results are to host continue hosting the OHDSI training sessions for the Chiron mentorship program, and we'll have also new applications for that program this year. And we're going to also host another virtual OHDSI developers conference this year, and also run the monthly meetings of the Technology Advisory Board. So if you're interested in any of these topics or just open source software and OHDSI in general, please check out our work group. Paul, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'm really excited to announce that Frank DeFalco is taking on as the lead of the Technology Advisory Board. You may know that we have over 250 repos in our OHDSI community with over 600 developers that have contributed to the software. So our goal is to support software developers from whether you're a casual contributor all the way to help you becoming a maintainer. And it's a great way to grow your career development. It's a great way to build friends and colleagues and to make an impact for our community. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Adam and Paul. Next up is our psychiatry work group, and that is Dima.
Hello, my name is Dimitri Dimshits, and I'm presenting our 2024 OKRs. So we want to continue the work on the clinical vocabulary related to psychiatry with scales and questionnaires, and also improve it by adding the ontology, like access, like what type of disorder or symptom the scale measures, right? Instead, not to put just names of scales, but create a hierarchy. Also, we want to provide landscape analysis of the data that currently available is in OMA format, actually, as well as in source data. So we want to know what psychiatry-specific data we have, right? And then, if we identify such a data, we can run broader comparison study on DTM users. And also we can compare the study to the studies run on claims or EHR, psychiatry non-specific data, and see if we get any differences. Also, we want to reform how workgroup is run by establishing GitHub routine and create proper communication to the broader community, such as have office hours or other types of communication. Yeah, and I want to say a few words of landscape analysis. So you want to look at demographic information, visit types, availability. Well, you can see it on the slide. So characterize the data in different ways. We see how much of information we have. And if you have psychiatry-related data or psychology, or like neuropsychiatric registries or whatever, please reach out to me or Andrew so we can establish this characterization effort and see what can be achieved, because it's very interesting. Like if we have more granular data, we can get novel results. Nobody did it before in this area. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, let me just see how quickly I can do this. Next up, is going to be Hua, and Hua is going to talk about the NLP work group. Hua, if you want to start, I'll pull these up.
Sure, thanks. Sorry for the delay of the slide. Somehow there's a mistake. I thought we already sent it. Yeah, so the NLP working group has been there for a while. I think many of you know we are primarily working on the promotion of the texture data in the EHRs. And we focus on developing software tools and methods to actually represent and to utilize those texture data. And in the last 4 symposium, we also organized kind of session on the large language model to show the more recent AI technology, how they can actually help with this texture data in the EHRs. So we have, next slide, please. We have 3 objectives for the year of 2024. The first one is really about knowledge dissemination. We published a paper on representing and utilizing texture data in the OMAP CDM, and we are actually converting and expanding that paper into a chapter, hopefully in the book of OHDSI, and we're still working on that. It's a little bit slow, but we definitely want to get this done in the first 1 to 2 quarters this year. And the second one is on the ETL for the texture data representation and the normalization. A couple of us actually working on the proposals to actually further revising the node NLP table, and we are working with the CDM working group to incorporate those changes to the next CDM release. And another thing I forgot to put here is also we actually work a lot around large language model based NLP technology to extract the concept out of the text, which we actually have our monthly meetings. Some of them actually talk about the more kind of large language model based information extraction technologies. And the third one is really working with other working groups to conduct multiple site clinical studies that will utilize not just structured data, but also texture data using NLP. Thanks to Andrew, he helped a lot. So we're actually having 3 ongoing studies. One is on oncology. I think it's a breast study related to breast cancer. And the second one is a psychiatry related study. And the third one is looking into the social determinants of health using NLP to extract SDOH and to see how it's associated with type 2 diabetes. So we're looking for folks to participate in those studies. And if you're interested, please feel free to contact me. And we have our monthly meeting on the 2nd Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern time. So everyone is, if interested, please feel free to join us. Thanks.